So I decided to take the subway from Grand Central because it's the faster than the bus. So he starts explaining what exactly happened and begins with how he chose to take the subway to his apartment instead of the usual bus after a long night shift. Now, I don't know why this should have happened to me. I'm just an ordinary guy named Charlie, 31 years old, and I was wearing a tan garbage suit and a straw hat with a fancy band. I passed a dozen men who looked just like me, and I wasn't trying to escape from anything. I just wanted to get home to Louisa, my wife. Gambardine means a smooth dress, cotton clothes. Now he describes himself as an ordinary man of 31 and he was wearing a gambardine suit and a straw hat with a fancy band, and it is so ordinary that he should see other similar man at the station. Now he explains how he has in his normal state of mind not wanting to escape from anywhere. All he wanted was to be with his wife Louisa at that hour. I turned out to Grand Central from Vanderbilt Avenue and went down to steps to the first level where you take trains like the 20th century. Then I walked down another flight to the second level where the suburban trains leave from, tucked into the arched doorway, heading for the subway, and got lost. That is the easy to do. I have been in and out of Grand Central hundreds of times, but I am always bumping into the new doorways and stairs and corridors. Once I got into a tunnel about a mile long and came out in the lobby of Roosevelt Hotel. Another time I came up in an office building for 46th Street, 3 blocks away. Now Charlie comes to the part of the incident where he entered the Grand Central from the Vanderbilt Avenue and took the stairs to the first level where he brought board trains like the 20th century. Then he went down another floor of the reach and the second level from where the suburban trains live. From there he entered an arched doorway and got lost. It was nothing unusual for him because even if he had come to that station 1,000 times, there were occasions he bumped into the new corridors and doorways. Once he had entered the wrong lobby and reached Roosevelt Hotel, and another time in the office building which he had 3 blocks away. Sometimes I think Grand Central is growing like a tree, pushing out new corridors and staircases like roots. There is probably a long tunnel that nobody knows about, feeling its way under the city right now. On its way, the Times Square, and maybe another the Central Park. And maybe it's because for so many people through the years, Grand Central has been an exit, a way of escape, and maybe that's how the tunnel I got into, but I never told my psychiatrist friend about that idea. Now he wondered that Grand Central was an expanding at a very fast rate, just like a tree and with its roots. It's no big deal that they even have a secret tunnel under the city of the Times Square or maybe the Central Park. He feels it may be because Grand Central is a place of exit of for innumerable people. And he also managed to escape reality because of the same reason. Now the corridor I was in began edging left and slanting downwards, and I thought that was wrong, but I kept on walking. All I could hear was the empty sound of my own footsteps, and I didn't pass a soul. Then I heard that sort of hollow roar ahead that means open space and people talking. The tunnel turned sharp left. I went down a short flight of stairs and came out of the third level at Grand Central Station. For just a moment, I thought I was back on the second level, but I saw the room was smaller. There were fewer tickets windows and train gates, and the information booth in the center was wood and old looking. And the man in the booth wore a green eye shade and long black sleeves protectors. The lights were dim and the short of flickering. Then I saw why they were open flame gas lights. Now the unusual corridors he had entered into began edging left and slanting downwards, which he felt odd about, but nevertheless he kept on walking. There was no one except him, and the voice of his feet echoed. Now he finally heard the sound of people talking from a distance. Then he took a left and walked down the stairs again, only to reach the third level of the Grand Central. He thought he had somehow made his way back to the second level, but as he noticed, the room was smaller and there were fewer ticket windows and train gates, and the information booth in the center was wood and old looking. The man in the booth was also different, and the station was dim lit, for there were open flame gas lights. There was brass spittoons on the floor, and across the station a glint of light caught my eye. A man was pulling a gold watch from his vest pocket. He snapped open the cover, glanced at his watch, and frowned. He wore a derby hat, a black four-button suit with tiny lapels, and he had a big black halberds mustache. Then I looked around and saw that everyone in the station was dressed like 1890 something. I never saw so many braids, sideburns, and fancy mustaches in my life. A woman walked in through the train gate. She wore a dress with a leg of mutton sleeves and skirts on the top, her high button shoes. Back of her, out of the tracks, I caught a glimpse of locomotive, a very small courier leaves locomotive with a funnel, mean shaped stack, and then I knew.